The rules on who can and can't enter and leave Australia are under renewed scrutiny this morning following the uproar over Katie Hopkins. She, as the far-right commentator, sent packing yesterday back to Britain.
It's also been claimed Australians who get an exemption to leave the country are being asked to waive their right to consular protection. Professor of Law at Canberra University, Kim Rubenstein, joins us now. Good morning to you, Kim. Welcome to News Breakfast.
Morning, Lisa. Morning, Michael. Nice to see you.
So this is interesting. We wanted to have a chat to you because it was sparked by reports that people are being asked to sort of sign away quite a few rights if they actually want to leave the country. What do we know? What is fact here?
So first of all, I think it's important to remind people that it's a new fact to actually apply for an exemption to leave the country. So in Western liberal democratic countries, I think most Australians would have taken for granted with their passports that they can travel in and out of their own country. So actually requiring an exemption to leave the country in and of itself is a dramatic step. But of course, we're living in unprecedented times within COVID. But even within that context, there are certain rights that need to be balanced. So when an Australian travels overseas, there's this notion of extraterritorial reach of Australian law. So Australia can actually legislate for us wherever we are in the world. So criminal laws can follow us wherever we are. But there's also been an understanding, and in fact, the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, which dates back to 1963 and actually refers to consular relations being available since ancient times, recognises that states have responsibilities to one another for their own citizens, so that when we're out of Australia, that there is an expectation that your state will protect your rights within the context of where you are. But interestingly, DFAT on its Smart Traveller site has always said you don't have a legal right to consular protection or consular assistance. But in the original website, it talks about you can't expect it if your actions were illegal or if you've deliberately or recklessly acted. Now, this is not what's going on here with this new step. It's actually saying you don't have a right. And what is not clear is what circumstances you're waiving that right. Is that for someone who might be overseas at the moment and has got the exemption, and for a non-COVID related issue that comes up, they're also waiving their rights? Or is it forever? So these are some of the really serious questions that need to be asked about this next step on reducing citizens' rights.
Yeah, it is fascinating, Kim, because I know the years that I spent overseas, it was very reassuring knowing that you could get consular help if you needed it. And so many Australians have relied on that. So a big question mark over it. And as you rightly point out, is this a permanent situation? What's happening, as far as you're aware, with the people who are applying for exemptions? I understand that the numbers have started skyrocketing because people are seeing safer places overseas that they want to head to.
Indeed, there's that aspect of it. And there's also the aspect for some people who have really been prevented from being with their family overseas, who are making conscious decisions to leave Australia for indefinitely because this is not the Australia that they necessarily felt that they were a part of, and that they do need to be with family overseas. And I think in a multicultural country like Australia, there are important questions about the extent to which all Australian citizens are being protected by government at this very difficult time. And so I have heard stories of individuals who are wanting to leave for a very significant period of time who are also still being blocked. And I do think that there are some really important legal questions as to the extent that a state can block their own citizens from leaving when the act of leaving is not causing any immediate harm on Australia. So there are constitutional questions there about where is the power of the state to stop a citizen from leaving indefinitely. And whilst there's been one case which has been argued on quite a narrow point, I think that there are serious questions about the extent to which this is a proper restriction on Australian citizens' rights.
Professor Kim Rubenstein, great to have you on the program. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks very much.